Hey guys, this is Anita. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is a tag video, mid-year freakout tag. I do this tag every year. It's always good to look back and see how our year is going on and also to talk about our future plans. We are halfway through the year, so this is perfect time for that. I'm having an amazing year. I read so many good books this year, so it's tough to choose answers to these questions, but let's try. Best book we have read so far in 2023. Actually, before filming, I went through Goodreads and noted down 4 books to talk about. But when I read this question aloud now, I can only think of one book. That's The Dragon's Path by Daniel Abraham, first book in Dagger and Coin series. It's a setup book. We are introduced to the world, we are introduced to the characters. So it's a slow book, but I loved the intrigue, political manipulations, and the history of the world, which involves dragons. It's a perfect setup book. Abraham got me completely invested and made me curious about the world, and he's the best in writing characters for me. His exploration of character motivations and using those motivations as anchor to move the plot is perfect for me. Maybe it's a recency bias, but I love this book. Best sequel you have read so far in 2023. I'm not sure if we need to pick only second book or any book in the series is okay. Anyway, I picked two, one second book and one third book. The first one is Obelisk Gate by N.K. Jemisin, that is second book in Broken Earth trilogy. I liked the fifth season. World is terrifying and characters are intriguing, but there are some weird scenes where I struggled little bit to understand what's happening, but we don't have that in the second book. World is expanded and stakes got way bigger, and everything started making sense. There is not a single dull moment in the book for me. I loved Obelisk Gate. And the next book I'm going to pick is Fool's Fate, that is third book in Tony Man trilogy. It was a perfect end to any series, any long series. Hobb perfectly tied all open plot lines from Farseer and life ships in this tournament trilogy. World building was just simply superb. And there are some character unions. Oh my god, Hobb made me feel all kinds of emotions. I loved this book. New release you haven't read yet but want to. That's All the Sinners Bleed by S.A. Cosby. Last year I read Razor's Blade by S.A. Cosby, and I loved how he handled sensitive topics like homophobia and racism. Actually, this came out recently in June. I was planning to read immediately after it got out, but I messed up. I thought it's coming out in July, so I did not make plans for that in June. That's why I did not read that yet. Most anticipated release for the second half of the year. This is going to be tricky. I'm very excited for the third book in Kaleshan Saga. The cover isn't out yet. Its title is Gloves of Yans. It's coming out on August 30th. I loved first book Deathless Beast. I was planning to read second book Bone Shroud in June. I should have read by now, but I'm not having a great reading month this month, so I'm behind. But I am very excited for this book. Another book is third book in Ashes of Evren series by Thiago Abdullah. I read Touch of Light recently and I loved it. Thiago's writing surprised me. Third book, A Twist of Faith or Twist of Hope. Faith. I am sure it's coming out this year, but I'm not sure when. But my plan is to read the second book, A Shade of Madness, by then and be ready by the third book. Biggest disappointment of the year. I don't have any disappointments this year. I'm having a pretty good year. The lowest rating I gave was 3.25 stars. I have a bunch of 3.25 stars. There are some things I liked in those books. That's why I did not hate them actually. But if I have to pick something, I will go with Great Hunt, second book in Wheel of Time. I really liked first book. I was surprised actually. I liked the characters a lot. That's why second book kind of disappointed me because of how characters gone down for me. I don't like reluctant hero trope, but almost most of the book was in reluctant hero perspective. I was very frustrated actually. Biggest surprise of the year, definitely Deathless Beast by Andrew D. Meredith. Actually, I did not know what the book was about. I went into it without knowing anything. immediately after finishing Fool's Fate, my exact thought process was Fool's Fate was so brilliant. I was like, no book will survive after Fool's Fate. I will not like anything. And I have ebook and audiobook for Deathless Beast. I thought, okay, I'll try a couple of chapters, and I started reading and I was completely invested, and it became instant 5 stars for me. Definitely. Little Beast. I highly recommend that. And the next surprise was Imperium by Robert Harris. I just posted my review for this on my channel. I loved this. It reads like a political thriller actually. Definitely one of the best political thrillers I read. If you are into historical fiction, I highly recommend it. Favorite new author? This is the most difficult question for me this year because I read some amazing books by new authors. I read many new authors. I narrowed down my list to 4. I cannot cut down anymore because I'm planning to read all books by them. So the first author I want to talk about is Chitrabanerjee Divakaruni. I read Palace of Illusions by her. That is a reimagining of Mahabharata in Draupadi's POV. Actually, this is one of the books I was surprised. I grew up reading stories or watching movies based on Mahabharata, but Chitrabanerjee Divakaruni managed to immerse me in these events which I already knew. She made me feel all emotions. I loved her writing. It was so smooth. Evie Chadia and I are planning to read all books by Chitrabanerjee Divakaruni. We are supposed to read Forest of Enchantments this month, but because of my slump, we are planning to move it to next month. Evie actually already sent me 5 books or 6 books by Chitrabanerjee Divakaruni. I cannot wait to read more by her. And the next author is Robert Harris. I read Cicero trilogy. Oh my god, that's one of the best trilogies I read this year. Such a good historical fiction. I think I liked it more because of Harris' writing, how he got me invested in these events which happened 2000 years back, and he made me invested in the survival of Roman Republic. Oh my god, I cried so much. I am planning to read everything by him. And as I said, Antiudi Meredith, I already read 3 books by him. His Thrice and Force Code, that those are part of a different series. Needle and Leaf trilogy, and I read already Deathless Beast. I am planning to read Bone Shroud either this month or definitely next month, and I will definitely read third book immediately after it comes out. Actually, I want to include Patricia Meredith too in this list. I read 2 books by her. She writes historical mystery. She recently released A Deed of Dreadful Note. I loved it. I also read Butcher Baker Candlestick Taker. That's book 1 in her Spokane Clockwork Tower mysteries. I need to read other books in that series. She is one of the authors I am planning to read all books. And the next author I want to talk about is Thiago Abdallah. I read only 1 book by him so far, but he took me by surprise. I heard good things about first book. Actually, Alan loved Touch of Light. I was expecting to like it, but I wasn't expecting such good writing. I tabbed so many quotes, he completely took me by surprise. I need to read his second book and the novella. Newest fictional crush. Actually, every year I won't have answer for this question because I don't get crushes from books usually. But this year I have an answer, that is So-Called from A Deed of Dreadful Note by Patricia Meredith. I loved romance in that book. It wasn't the main focus, it's a mystery book actually, but romance is there very subtle in the background, and I loved it. I wanted to be part of that romance. Newest favorite character, definitely Isabel and John Claude from the Risen Kingdoms trilogy. I just finished second book in the trilogy, A Labyrinth of Science and Sorcery. Oh my god, those characters. I cannot pick one of them. It changes based on my mood. I love Isabel for her presence of mind, for her clarity in what she wants, her tenaciousness. And I love Jean-Claude for his loyalty and his empathy and the way he respects Isabel and Marie and everyone else. If I have to pick, maybe I will pick Jean-Claude because he makes me laugh even in difficult situations. Marie became my favorite too for her loyalty, her confidence, and and her clarity of thought. Incredible characters in this book. I highly recommend this trilogy if you haven't read it. A book that made you cry. This is tough. I cry for almost every book. I'm an immersive reader. I feel characters' emotions. Sometimes they don't have to cry. I cry for them on behalf of them. I picked two answers. One is Black Cake by Charmaine Wilkerson. A mother dies and she leaves a voice recording to her children, and we follow the story in that voice recording. Charmaine Wilkerson's writing is so good. She made us invested in completely different time period, completely strangers. I was totally immersed, actually cried throughout the book. And the second book I want to talk about is Palace of Illusions by Chitrabanerjee Divakaruni. If you are familiar with Mahabharata, there is a war between Pandavas and Kauravas which happens for 18 days and many characters die. I know who dies actually. I have read so many stories about these characters. I have watched so many stories, like dedicated stories for these particular characters arc, like how they started and how they die. I know that happens. Even then I cried. Oh my god, last 100 pages I was so invested and I cried. Chitrabanerjee Divakaruni did a fantastic job. Next question is the book that made you happy. Is it the book that made you happy or made you laugh? Because sometimes I will be happy even with the book that made me cry. Suppose Palace of Illusions. It was such a good book, so I was happy that I read it. So I'm assuming this question is about a book that made me laugh. I do this tag every year, but I forgot. I did not read any funny books, but there are some books where some characters made me laugh. I'm going to pick Matt's arc from Dragon Reborn. That is the third book in Wheel of Time. Oh my god, I laughed out loud in mad scenes from that book. There is one scene where he threw fireworks into the fire. Actually, I was expecting him to do that and he did exactly that. I fell in love with that character in that moment. And from there onward, I laugh every time he comes on paper. I mean, his scene comes, his arc comes. His arc is my favorite in Wheel of Time series. At this point, his arc is one of the reasons I'm continuing the series. Definitely Matt. Most beautiful book you have bought so far this year or received. I have this paperback copy of Forest of Enchantments by Chitrabanerjee Divakaruni. Evie sent me this. Evie is such an angel, my book fairy. This is actually another Indian epic Ramayana retelling in Sita's POV. I'm hoping I will love this as much as Palace of Illusions. Anyway, this is not about the content of the book. This is about the cover of book. I loved the gold foiling. I'm not sure if you can see this. And I love these lotuses. Actually, whoever did this cover, they did a fantastic job. And I have another cover. I did not... Where is that? I think that's in another room. I forgot to bring it. A Touch of Light by Chiago Abdullah. I'll put that on the screen. I love this cover as well. Orange, pink, red, all these shades are actually my favorite. I like bright colors. I love this. This is perfect. I mean, my kind of cover actually, this bright color. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? So many. I have so many self-help books to read this year. I made a video about it, and I also have list of series I want to start this year, and 23 standalones I want to read this year. So many plans. But my immediate plans are for self-help books, Wishful Ascending by J.C.M. Byrne, A Drowned Kingdom by P.L. Stewart, Of Thieves and Shadows by V.S.H. Gacha, No Land for Heroes by Cal Black, Becoming a Druid by Mike Molman. And I do have other plans, other buddy reads like Curse of Chalian and I, Claudius. I do want to read them. If I list all of them, I'll definitely start freaking out. It's better to stop here before my anxiety kicks in. Let me know in comments what are your favorite books you read this year and what are your favorite authors you found this year. Please like, comment and subscribe. See you in the next video. Bye bye.